Good evening, virtual racing fans from far and wide, to another live production of the Canadian eMotorsports Network. Tonight, it's once again Season 5 action for the NASCAR Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, where the cars and stars of Canadian eMotorsports Network Stock Car Racing will make the trek here to Indianapolis, Indiana, for an attempt to conquer one of the most iconic racing circuits in the entire world. Welcome aboard to round 14 of 22 for Season 5 of the NASCAR Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. It is, again, the Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue 200 at the Brickyard, the third annual race in series history on the oval configuration. On the call here tonight, at least at the moment, only one of us is on at the moment, but the voice you're hearing from Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, is Regan McCauley in the play-by-play position since Season 4 of the NASCAR Series. My fellow color commentator, who's been here since the very beginning, on the other side of the country in Alberta, Canada, is Jordy Carraher. At the moment, he is now with us, dealing with some technical issues behind the scenes, so hopefully he'll be able to join us later on here, maybe as we approach the Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue 200 here tonight. But before we get into discussing tonight's event in Indianapolis, Indiana, we must go back in time to last week on Tuesday, June 11th, where we went to Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania for round 13 of 22, the Forked River 200, where the number 17, Bolger Motorsports, Kawasaki, and all the other sponsors that are not coming to my mind. He said all of them in the post-race winner interview, so all good. The number 17 of Corbin McCauley scoring his third win of the season, tying Jordan Kalinian for the most wins on the year. They now have 3 apiece. It was McCauley's 18th career win, first at Pocono, I believe. And it looks as though we do actually have a color commentator now here, with indeed a face that has popped up. So, Jordy, we are live. Do you have a copy?
Maybe.
I did get your voice there, if that helps.
Okay, yeah, that is a start. Running on jet lag here a little bit, so I may not have my fastball tonight.
All good, all good. All that matters is that you are here to help us put on a show tonight here, along with the cars and stars of the Canadian eMotorsports Network NASCAR Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue here at the Brickyard in Indianapolis, Indiana. I was just getting to the fact that, going back to last week where we saw the number 17 of Corbin McCauley just completely dominate in the Forked River 200, our 100th race in NASCAR Series history at Pocono Raceway, and get the other picture in there. Nice little other view. Trying to get some of the scenic shots out of every single race here in Season 5. I mean, of course, ever since we transitioned to iRacing, man, oh man, some of the pictures that we get compared to the console days, absolutely stunning. But since now that you're here with us, Jordy, in the commentary booth, we might as well introduce our faces here. So, Regan McCauley, that's Jordy Carraher. Jordy, looking back to last week at Pocono Raceway, again, the 100th race in series history. I mean, there was no one better, no one more fitting than a guy who's been here with us since the very beginning, especially back in your days, since I didn't come until Season 3. 17 of Corbin McCauley, a Day 1 driver, getting the win in race number 100.
Yeah, and I mean, you talked about dominance. Yeah, it's fair to look at the points and say that, but I mean, stages 1 and 2 were certainly tighter. They weren't runaways by any stretch. It was ultimately after that last pit stop in stage 3 where, the rubber really kind of met the road for the 17 as he picked up, race win number 18 over the course of the 5 seasons, and got himself off the skids there a little bit as he tries to build up a little more momentum going into the playoffs. And, I mean, you look at a track like Indy, could be, an interesting night here as well, but, not a whole lot in the way of, the challenges that some of the other tracks will have. I mean, hell, the guys got to practice the turns on one of the 3 turns last week, so there's already a little bit of familiarity of how they're going to go through.
Well, I mean, yeah, back at Pocono Raceway, it was long straightaways with some sharp, tight corners. I think I just did that again. I think that one was worse, actually.
Well, no, this one's worse.
That one's actually worse. Anyways,
Yep.
Sharp and tight corners. Vocabularies. But yeah, with heavy braking, of course, only 3 corners with turn 4. But yes, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, kind of the same story as well. Again, you got some very long and very fast straightaways. I mean, again, it doesn't matter if you're in the draft or you're not. You're going to be going. Absolutely wicked speeds. And then these corners too. I mean, it's 4 corners this time compared to Pocono, but judging by the setups that we may end up, the setups that drivers will be dealing with here tonight, some of the hot temperatures as well, we could get some kind of like IndyCar-esque style racing even, and we'll see how the long runs play out. Strategy might be, again, like we saw back at Pocono, that might end up playing a big factor here tonight. But again, going back to last week at Pocono, of course, still got to recap some of the stuff there before we move on to tonight's action. Corbin McCauley, of course, getting the pole, getting both stage wins, gets the win. CD Mac, actually, the rest of the podium behind him, I mean, that whole podium is pretty much the regular season battle that we've had brewing for the past couple of weeks here thus far. The number 17 retaking the regular season points lead with the sheer dominance back at Pocono last week. CD Magram only a couple points behind him. He qualified 4th and finished 2nd. Jordan Kalinian qualified 2nd, finished 3rd. It was McCauley and Kalinian that were going at it early on in the race, but then Magram was able to have a slightly better long run than Kalinian in the end. Adam Wilson and Andy Hurdle come home with top 5 finishes. Pretty much all the names in the top 10 are pretty recognizable, although Trevor Binns in particular, the first-year driver in the number 33, qualified top 10, finished top 10 for the first time since April 2nd at Phoenix Raceway, so a hell of a job by him. He had weeks on end where it was just finishes barely outside the top 10, a couple top 15 finishes, and just a lot of rough luck, but finally able to come around and maybe try to build some momentum, especially being outside the playoffs. So more than likely need to be a win for him to have any shot at continuing to be eligible for the 5th annual Earl Ross Cup. But again, though, that's still good momentum, baby steps with 2 races remaining in the regular season. So time is seriously ticking for him and many other drivers here in the Canadian eMotorsports Network NASCAR Series. Jason Heaney, Jose Mercado, Mike Marini finishing just outside the top 10. William Kern had a very strong performance at first, starting in the 7th spot, but then had a lot of loose moments, especially off a corner exit throughout the race. He ended up finishing in 14th. 21 of 22 cars ended up finishing the race. Unfortunately, the number 32 of Charlie Sears, who was just coming off a win at Monza, the Monza circuit in Monza, Italy, kind of right back to the bad luck where he qualified 17th, just didn't really have a good car there in the first 10 laps or so, and then lap 11 comes around. I believe it was lap 11. He crashes in turn 2, the only DNF of the race, so thank goodness that we do have the win in your in systems, so he was able to take full advantage of that at Monza. But thing is, too, some of the drivers have been saying here behind the scenes that tonight's race at Indianapolis, I mean, could be the closest kind of race that we have, kind of racing that we have compared to open wheel, which, I mean, we saw how Charlie Sears was able to do on that end back in the IndyCar/Dart Series Season 2 last year. So he could quickly be able to bring, rebound once again and have some good momentum going into the playoffs with a solid performance tonight in Indianapolis.
He absolutely could. And like the other thing that we noticed on the IndyCar side, yeah, there were a lot of wins, but there was also a lot of boom and bust in there as well, whether like it was either win or DNF, win or something would happen. There was a lot of that. And, potentially if he's able to keep it on the right path here tonight, how about 2 wins in 3 weeks going into the playoffs potentially? How would that line up?
Absolutely. And now moving on to the driver, that is the rookie points, not the driver standings. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Again, rookie word is still a little awkward here within this series, as we've said many times before. But before we get into that, of course, with the driver's standings, Corbin McCauley puts himself back at the top of the board. Obviously, he and Kalinian both had 3 wins apiece, but McCauley is higher in the overall regular season points. And again, the driver's standings graphic that we release every single week, it should be noted that it is in order based on all the drivers that have already locked their way into the playoffs with a win. And then after that, we take all the rest of the grid, where we have right now only 4 playoff spots remaining with 2 regular season races left. So we'll have a guaranteed 2 drivers that will make it into the playoffs on points. So again, there's still a chance for some guys to maybe surprise us a little bit. Jason Heaney, Justin Belmonte, maybe even Trevor Binns. Don't count any other of those guys below them even to sneak their way into the 5th annual Earl Ross Cup playoffs. But Darcy Ford, currently at plus 88, he is very much well on his way into making the playoffs. Jose Mercado at plus 68. Kyle Knoll is at plus 40 at the moment in 11th, but it seems like behind the scenes there is a possibility he might not participate in tonight's race, which could play a huge factor in how the playoff picture plays out here tonight and at Rockingham next week. And then Mike Marini is in 12th at plus 37, so it'll most certainly be intriguing to see how things play out again here tonight at the Brickyard. And again, guys like Jason Heaney, Justin Belmonte at minus 37, minus 39 each. Belmonte made his first return in a couple weeks last week at Pocono, and looking at the results, he came home with a 7th place finish, so maybe in a must-win situation, maybe. But if he's able to gain an extraordinary number of points tonight and next week at Rockingham, there still is a chance. You never know, but more than likely, it's going to need to be a win for everybody that's currently outside looking in. Although, again, as I mentioned, Kyle Knoll, if he doesn't race tonight, oh baby, this could make things... you can insert any word there.
Yes, you absolutely could. And I mean, I just can't ignore the fact that there's a Justin Belmonte sized shark in those waters outside the playoff picture right now. Again, I mentioned it how many times last week. The dude won 3 times last year. He's a guy who's more than capable of pulling it off on any given night. And Indy, with, its speed everywhere, it's not a copy of Daytona, but you think of guys who perform well on those kinds of tracks. Belmonte won Daytona and Auto Club last year, and the third one's escaping me. I remember it was a playoff race, and I remember there was high speed. But yeah, I would say still be on the lookout for number 6, especially as the urgency increases. But yeah, what you were saying earlier about Kyle Knoll potentially not making it, that could really throw a wrench into the bubble picture, which is actually pretty stable right now. My projection says you'd need roughly 441 points to get in. And yeah, so for Belmonte, that would be 98 over the next 2 weeks. If Knoll's unable to go tonight, he would need pretty much or pretty close to a clean sweep next week to get in on points, if not a win. So tonight's very important.
Indeed so, and we'll see how it all plays out here tonight at the iconic Brickyard. And then, of course, got the rookie point standings as per usual. We're very mixed when it comes to the rookie name. Again, first year is usually preferable because a lot of these quote-unquote rookies that we've had come into the Canadian eMotorsports Network NASCAR Series for this season, a lot of them have some pretty high I ratings, including Jordan Kalinian, where arguably you could call it right now. We still have under half a season remaining, but 80 points over Adam Wilson. And we all know the momentum that he's had through 13 rounds, and then coming into tonight where he did look fast here in practice. I think he posted a time somewhere within the top 3 to 5. You could pretty much call it over, maybe, especially from third on back where it's 242 points and minus onward.
Very safe to call it a 2-car race at this point. I think... Yeah, the only thing that would kind of prevent that result that you were talking about would be pretty much an act of God that takes them out for a week or two. it's pretty much the only daylight Adam Wilson would have at this point to get to the top of the rookie/first-year point standings. But again, you've got 3 first-year drivers to the series who've won. So don't take anything away from any of them. And I mean, depending on what happens over the next 2 weeks, 4, maybe 5 of them get into the playoffs. 3 at minimum for sure, because they're winners. But, they've proven wonderful additions to the series regardless.
Indeed. So by far our best first-year driver class that we've had here within the Canadian eMotorsports Network and the NASCAR Series. Again, as you said, top 3 are locked into the playoffs. Everybody else is more than likely going to need to win their way in. We will obviously have the Best of the Rest championship that will occur alongside the 5th annual Earl Ross Cup playoffs. So if it's just Kalinian, Wilson, and Sears that do make the playoffs, Jason Heaney and everybody else will still have a chance at another championship, just to kind of keep things competitive and let 13th and onwards still, have something to compete for, have something going for them to kind of keep them up and going here for the rest of Season 5. But since we're still on the topic of drivers, we might as well give a shout out to one of the longtime veterans here in the Canadian eMotorsports Network NASCAR Series. He is, remember, last week we hit race number 100 in the entire series, and now here race number 101, which I can only imagine for this guy, it means that out of his entire career, he missed 1 race. That's it. The number 12 of Mike Marini hits 100 career starts tonight in the NASCAR Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. He was with us in Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, Season 4, and Season 5. Man, oh man, it's been a marathon for the guy who's won 2 career races throughout his time in the network. Man, oh man, the commitment from this guy, you have to absolutely preach him. And especially, too, I guess, with the possibility of Kyle Knoll not making it into tonight's event, and with Marini here tonight, that'll only make it better for him to try and make it into what would be his 4th Earl Ross Cup playoffs appearance, which again, 4 out of 5. Oh.
And honestly, for Mike, last year, very understandable. He was one of the guys that was caught up on the iRacing transition side of things, so not necessarily a huge surprise, but a little bit further down than maybe I would have expected, because over the previous 3 years, this was a guy who set a standard for just having pure speed as much as anything else. Like, he was the guy that, others had fantastic, maybe more consistent results, but if you wanted a guy on 1 lap pace, Mike Marini was always one of the first guys you looked at. And I had to think back when this was first posted. I think that, some of the aggressive driving that we hail him for, that might have gotten him a 1 race suspension that prevented him from getting it last week. I have to think back to confirm that, but, again, it's a testament to the man himself overall that he's stuck through it here since the beginning of Season 1. Again, a guy that's shown a lot over the course of the last 3 years, has certainly, evolved as he's gotten more familiar with iRacing over the course of the last year plus. And, if he finds himself in the playoffs, you know what? Dark horse is a pretty good term here for the number 12 out of Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Especially, too, since his wins have come on road courses, and we're going to have Watkins Glen and the Chicago Street Course both in the 5th annual Earl Ross Cup playoffs. And again, Watkins Glen is going to be the 2nd race of the first round. So again, we have a couple road course open wheel aces here in the NASCAR Series. Mike Marini's one of them. He could very well take advantage as long as he has to still make the playoffs. Yep. And then he has to deal with trying to conquer the Lady in Black at Darlington.
Yeah, easier said than done, but at least there's a week in between there where guys can kind of reset as well once the regular season comes to an end, as of course we are taking that week in observance of Canada Day and 4th of July festivities after the end of the regular season.
Absolutely. So once again, congratulations to the number 12 of Mike Marini. Best of luck to him here tonight as he continues his trek into trying to make the 5th annual Earl Ross Cup playoffs. But now we look into tonight here at the Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue 200 at the Brickyard. It's the third time we are running, in series history, the third time we're running on the oval configuration. If we were to count the road course as well, this would be the fourth time. In 2020, we ran on the oval. 2022, we did as well. I believe it was 2021 when we ran on the road course configuration. Didn't Marini win that one?
That was the All-Star race, yes.
The All-Star race, okay, so still technically third.
Yeah.
But anyways. Indianapolis still entering its fourth year of operation, or third, whatever you want to call it, at 2.5 miles, 4 kilometers, rectangular oval, known as the Brickyard, opened in 1909 and has hosted NASCAR racing since 1994. Obviously the hosts of the annual Indianapolis 500 and the Brickyard 400 in real life for the NASCAR Cup Series will be back for this year. So, again, we got the virtual one going here, and then we'll have the real life one eventually coming up into the real life summer. Long straightaways, extreme speeds, sharp corners with heavy braking. I got it right that time. Drivers have been talking about how very unpredictable tonight's setup could be, especially with some of the high track temperatures. So tonight's race could very well be interesting. And as Corbin McCauley put it for the final 2 regular season races of Season 5, Indianapolis and Rockingham are practically polar opposites, where, again, you got the long straightaways, high speeds, heavy braking corners here, and then Rockingham, you're pretty much loose and all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, the way this schedule's been set up, it's had to take a complete driver to be able to kind of make a mark here over the last few weeks. And again, the polar opposite is probably the perfect description of those two tracks, as Corbin mentioned last week. But you know what? The one thing is constant. In order to finish first you have to finish. So, you know what? Regardless of the track that's in front of you, just, do what you can to make it happen. Don't do anything stupid. And, if the chance is there, go for it.
Indeed so, but very soon here, the Cars and Stars of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, are going to go at it for 80 green flag laps, 200 miles at the iconic Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Round 14 of 22 is coming up very soon. There you heard it right there. The engines have been fired up here at the Brickyard for 80 green flag laps, 200 miles at the Brickyard. So we're going to get to the starting grid here and show you the cars and stars who will be running for a win here tonight. Starting on the front row, I mean, literally, again, there's no surprise here whatsoever. The number 17 Chevrolet of Corbin McCauley looking to get 2 wins in a row. His first one at the Brickyard, the number 17 of Corbin McCauley there. Alongside him is the number 0 Toyota from Salisbury, North Carolina. It is Jordan Kalinian. Both drivers on the front row looking for 4 wins on the season. And now moving on here to row 2, where we have the number 64 Chevrolet of Darcy Ford, who was the inaugural winner of this race back in 2020. Alongside him is the number 1 Toyota for Tornado Alley E Racing from Atlanta, Georgia. It is CD Magram.
All right, and rounding out the top 5, we head to Laurel, Delaware, where we find the number 21 Tornado Alley E-Racing Toyota of Adam Wilson starting in 5th. And he's got another race winner on his outside, the number 7 519 E-Racing Chevy of Andy Hurdle out of Dayton, Ohio, starts 6th. Then we head to Eudora, Kansas, where we find the number 4 Chevy of Mason Tomlinson starting 7th. Tomlinson, a guy outside the playoff picture right now. As is William Kern, of course, a late entrant into the series. His number 31 out of New York will start in 8th.
Rounding at the top 10, where we have the guy we were just shouting out there. He's been here since day 1. 100 career starts for the number 12 Toyota of Mike Marini out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. And then starting in 10th, the final car inside the top 10, the number 13 Chevrolet out of Eudora, Kansas. It is Jared Ireland. And then just outside the top 10, where we have the number 32 Chevrolet for 499 Racing out of Charlottesville, Virginia, it is Charlie Sears. Alongside him, another first-year driver in the number 9 Toyota for Koopa's Racing from Altoona, Wisconsin, it is Jason Heaney.
All right, on to row 7, where we find the number 22 Chevy of Bryce Fontaine out of Laverne, Tennessee. He'll start 13th. And the guy I basically referred to as a shark in the pre-race, Justin Belmonte, in his number 6 GTR Ford, he'll start 14th, which is where he is in the point standings right now. On to row 8, and we've got the number 41 GTR Ford of Jose Mercado out of Kissimmee, Florida, starting in 15th. He's in the playoffs right now, could solidify a spot tonight. Tom Janikowski on his outside. The number 93 Chevy out of Appleton, Wisconsin will start 16th.
And to round out the rest of the field in row 9, starting 17th is the number 16 Chevrolet of Ryan O'Toole out of Portland, Oregon. Alongside him is the number 10 Chevrolet for 519E Racing out of London, Ontario. Jason Butler starts 18th. And then Hunter Young, currently in his pit box, but there he is anyways. Supposed to be starting 19th, but again in his box. The number 77 Ford for GTR from St. Catharines, Ontario. And alongside him is supposed to be the guy that, again, it seems like he might be 10 minutes away from possibly getting into this race many laps down. But, I mean, get the points that you can. The number 15 Toyota out of Wendell, North Carolina, Kyle Noel for Storm Surge Esports. And then at the very back of the field, more than likely starting, pretty much starting way ahead of them, actually, in the 19th position, is the number 33 Toyota for Koopa's Racing from Winter Haven, Florida. It is Trevor Binns. For your race analysis here at the Brickyard, it's going to be 80 laps, 200 miles. Stages 1 and 2 are 25 lap, or did I get the math wrong? Is it 20, 25, 30?
25, 25, 30 would get you 80.
Okay, so my apologies on that. That's much better. 25 laps each for stages 1 and 2. Final stage will be 30 laps. Pit road speed is 55 miles per hour, and the fuel window is about 18 to 20 laps, so no doubt we will see many green flag pit windows here today, or tonight, however you want to put it, here at the Brickyard. So the cars and stars of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series will come to the start-finish line, the bricks, at the iconic Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue 200 is underway.
And Darcy Ford not wasting any time here, trying to get him a push behind McCauley. I wonder what he's got on his sleeve.
And so the number 17 getting out to already about a 2/10 or so lead, as there's a lot of...
Whoa!
some looseness going on towards the back. That's Mason Tomlinson in trouble off of 2, but he saves it. Thank goodness no one gets collected in the little bit of shenanigans right there, but we still keep going. All 20 cars still running on all 4 wheels and straight.
Yeah, I think it might have been the 2 Eudora boys there, because I think Jared Ireland was wide out of 2 as well.
Everybody's still...
Or was that Sears, perhaps?
Sorry?
Or was that Sears, perhaps? I could be wrong. I saw purple.
All that matters is that everybody is so far so good through 1 lap. The number 17 leading the way by about almost 0.3 or so ahead of the number 0.
Yeah, still very, very early, obviously. But again, the fact that you alluded to the fact that we are going to see a green flag pit stop in every stage here based on that fuel window, like, you're just kind of biding your time, playing chicken. Wouldn't be surprised if, a number of the guys do the traditional split the stage in half just to make sure you know what you've got kind of thing. But yeah, we'll see some cards being played here relatively shortly, I would think, as Kalinian's coming right on the back of the bumper of Corbin McCauley.
And then Darcy Ford following in behind them, looking to earn what would be his second win here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway after winning the inaugural race.
Yeah, it's been a minute for Darcy there as well. Again, how many times have we alluded to it?
Trouble!
Oh, boy, oh boy.
Caution is out on lap 3. That's the number 13 of Jared Ireland gone around off of turn 2.
So maybe that was the purple that I had seen earlier. It looked like he was a little bit further up the standings to be affected too much, but yeah, it seems like turn 2 might have got him again.
So the yellow flag has been displayed early here in the Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue 200 at the Brickyard. We're definitely going to have to take a look at what just happened there too. The number 13 of Jared Ireland, who, man oh man, it's been a roller coaster of a couple weeks for him recently for the number 13 Boot Hill Chevrolet. We'll see what happens here coming into turn 2.
Yeah, just self-inflicted.
Up on 2 wheels. Hard hitting to the inside wall. Thank goodness he didn't come up any more than he almost did right there. But yeah, again, the drivers are talking about kind of similar to Pocono, tight corner entry, loose corner exit. Looks as though Jared Ireland may have been a victim there of loose corner exits, that's for sure.
Yeah, trying to figure out where he can push. Pushed a little too hard, too early, and yeah, lap 2 or 3, wherever we happen to be, triggers the first caution of the afternoon.
So currently in his pit box with a lot of smoke coming out of the engine, front bumper completely torn off. We got a couple early takers here under this first caution. Or not, Kalinian.
Okay, some dummies.
The top 3 and Charlie Sears stay out.
Okay.
Very interesting strategies possibly playing out here.
Yeah, I have to say, yeah, caution's usually a good time, but, if it was gonna be, say, like, if it was happening lap 8 or 9, I would totally get this, but we may get a bit of an exhibition in fuel stretching here, fuel saving.
Looks to be a lot of drivers taking just fuel on that stop.
Because what did we say the top of the window was? Was it 18 or 20?
It's 18 to 20 laps is around that range.
Okay, so I had the low and top anyway. So, yeah, conceivably you could get to the end. Well, wait, what am I... Again, I'm on potato vision if it's not clear. but I guess I can go to the YouTube feed to see our actual lap counter. So yeah, lap 5, 20 laps from there. Yeah, you could get to the end of the stage. We might have to see a little bit of conserving, but we'll find out soon enough.
So I took it on my notes right there. This again, McCauley, Kalinian, Ford, and Sears did not pit. Everybody else did for fuel except Will Kern and Bryce Fontaine. Both took 4 tires.
Okay, I mean, that could play a little bit of a factor later on because, I mean, we've only had like 2.5 competitive laps on these tires, so you'd have to think they'd be able to stand up to, you know, a fresh set of 4 for Kern and Fontaine. But you never know. Maybe a track like Indianapolis where, you know, we've seen some discussions about, you know, maybe some of the unpredictability as Adam Wilson's coming in again. Wonder if he may have run afoul of the pit speeding lords. No, there's a lot of them.
There's a bunch of them coming in. Did they all?
Everything is happening.
Did everybody speed?
I got nothing here for you. This might be a time where, you know, it might be worth you going into the voice chat there to see just what the hell is going on. Because, I mean, it wasn't early enough for them to be 1 lap down. That is a little bit bamboozling. And it appears, again, it was just a splash and dash for everyone who came in on that second round. So, yeah, it sounds like Regan's trying to get some answers as to what's gone on with this particular trio, or particular group, I should say, because it doesn't feel like anyone.
Oh, topping off.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. They all topped off.
Which is what I thought everyone else did 1 lap ago. So I'm still maybe a touch on the confused side.
I mean, I guess if there's the extra lap to top off and then, you know, get back to the field behind the pace car, then just packing them with fuel before the restart. I mean, it makes sense. Some of them maybe trying to get the tiny bit of an edge in strategy, if that even has to do with any of this. But one thing's for sure, which if these cautions continue, the 15 of Kyle Knoll has made it. He's 3 laps down, though.
Yeah, but it won't take long for him to jump Ireland for an additional point.
Indeed.
Like, he's only got to complete 10 miles of Indy. Oh, man, the pace car is going to make life difficult on that, though, for everybody else. But now it's up to Corbin to start things off here again.
And there's the green flag on lap 7 of 80. Number 17 getting the jump. Charlie Sears gets ahead of CD Magram there going through turn 1. You go ahead.
Well, I was going to say just a smart play from McCauley to cover off that top line where Kalinian and Ford looked like they might have tried to get a little bit of a run, but yeah, obviously 17 stays in front, and I think, if I recall correctly, Mangrum came in to, like, during that caution, right? You said Sears didn't, so that would have meant Mangrum got a good jump off the restart to get 4th for Sears to get it back.
And he's trying to look for that hole underneath the 32, but it does. The 32 keeps it closed. 17 is almost over a half a second or so ahead of the 0. Are we going to get some almost 3-1? Oh, turned!
Whoa, man. Caution, yikes.
In front, oh, Fontaine barely gets by. The number 32 gets turned by Mangrum down the front stretch. Caution on lap 8.
Cool. So that was the one thing that I was gonna say during that first caution when I was asking the questions about the topping off of fuel. Were they perhaps suspecting that there wasn't going to be another caution in the stage? Like, I always kind of had it in my back pocket. I didn't think it would happen this soon, but I kind of thought it might be coming.
So time for another replay after what just went on right there. So you see Magram get the run, try to dive underneath Sears, the 32, almost underneath the 64 as well, and then contact 32 into the inside wall, hits it on the front end, then the back end. Fontaine had nowhere to go but the pit exit into turn 1.
Yeah, unfortunately, after this contact with the inside wall, that 32 of Sears looking more like a Value Village recycle or rescue. But the good news is, like, he was eventually able to get it straightened out, but some early damage done. Now a recovery drive for the 32.
I mean, Sears did hold his position in line right there. Magram may have come up slightly. Was it maybe the 32's vision with the 64, though? But again, though, he's still behind him, so it's kind of hard to call on that end.
Yeah. It's one of those things that's, you know, hard to diagnose in real time, like, especially when you're not professionals. Like, if we were, you know, the NASCAR, like, network TV booths, people would say, no, you can't do that. But us looking at that objectively here on computer screens, me kind of being able to see it on my end, or barely being able to, I should say. Yeah, it's one that's, you know, heat of the moment. There's a lot of stuff going on. But, yeah, first glance, it didn't think it was a matter of, you know, whether or not there was clearance. It seemed like, yeah, Sears was okay, but I'd be interested to hear from both sides on that one.
So it looks like everybody was just taking fuel on that one during that those yellow flag pit stops there. Jared Ireland's still stuck in his box at well over what is 650 seconds and minutes? Would you know?
That is about 11 minutes.
Ouch. And there goes Sears after 40 seconds. Jason Butler might be in for almost a minute. And there's Kyle Knoll now coming down.
Yeah, but again, notably, Knoll's already gotten ahead of Ireland on the board. And, you know, I was going to say, we have a message from Jared in the chat in the background here. I don't know whether to interpret that as the end of his night. I feel like, based on the fact that we're still counting his pit stop, seems like he's still going, but yeah, don't have confirmation on that one way or the other.
So after all that happened, Andy Hurdle and Jose Mercado are going to take the front row on this restart. So Collini and McCauley, Magram are... McCauley's at the bottom of the top 10, and then all the other guys there are behind him there outside the top 10. Charlie Sears coming back down pit road.
Yeah, for the guys who are up at the head of the field now, I wonder if now maybe there's a tire discrepancy in play now that we're closer to the halfway point of the stage. Have to see what everyone else came in for. You'd have to think it's a tire change at that point after the fuel top off on the first caution.
So we're gonna see here how this all plays out, if the guys that just came down are going to be able to cycle their way through the field to get to the end of this first stage. But suppose a bit of a fun fact here up at the front, or maybe not so fun for Andy Hurdle. Remember last year's race in Season 2 of the IndyCar/Darts Series where we did the second annual Indy 250. Andy Hurdle, Dylan Baum, final lap, carnage behind them, going to turns 3 and 4. It's going to be either one of them. Contact happens, and then this guy right here goes to victory lane somehow.
Yeah, well, I mean, it gives him a win on Indianapolis Oval in iRacing, right? So maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's some good juju, as I'm finding out in the background. No tire changes for anybody.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's not surprising.
I was gonna say, like, it still felt early. Just the nature of the second pit stop struck me a little bit strange. So maybe a little bit of speculation on my part.
And so the iRacing safety car or pace car, whatever, will pull off to pit road. We're going to get back to green on lap 12 of 25 for stage 1, lap 12 of 80 for the Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue 200. Andy Hurdle takes the green flag.
And man, did he ever hurdle himself into that. Look at the gap.
Already her.
Hey, it was perfect.
Oh, no. It was still golden.
Yeah. I mean, better than rhyming it with turtle, as I've, unfortunately done over the past couple of seasons at times as well. But he laughs at that too, so I can get away with it.
Ooh, near contact there between the 33 and the 22 going through turn 3. Some solid double file action from 4th on back through turn 4. Already the number 17 looking to make his way back up to the front. Right in behind the 31 of Will Kern. Kalinian's right to his inside.
Yeah, they're both kind of boxed in there toward the top 10.
Almost 3 wide.
Ugh. But I mean, a sneaky byproduct of this. How about Jason Heaney and Trevor Binns? Two guys outside the playoff picture running 3-4 right now.
Absolutely. What a wonderful beginning of momentum it would be for them here tonight if they were to get some solid stage points and maybe try to even perhaps contend for the Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue 200 victory. Kalinian is easily making his way through. The 17 is following him behind. So is Magram and Darcy Ford.
Yeah, guys, maybe a little anxious at the start. Mostly single file through the field here now, with this obvious exception.
Kyle Knoll 2 laps down, trying to get past some guys here. 3 wide in the back. Oh, Tom Janikowski may have gotten to the outside wall there. But he keeps it going.
Yeah, just, maybe a little bit haywire there going into 1. But, yeah, as I say, no harm, no foul. 2 cautions. Keep her going, boys.
Half a second or so lead for the number 7 of Andy Hurdle. He'd be looking for his second win on the season after getting finally a first career win back at the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
And again, you speak of Charlotte. Notably, you recall who won stage 3 of that race. Again, that would be one Jason Heaney running in 3rd. And again, a guy outside the playoff picture right now looking to absolutely upset the apple cart going into God knows what at Rockingham next week to end the regular season.
Yeah, that's pretty much the best way to put it, as it looks like everybody is pretty much single-filed out here with now 11 laps to go, or 10 and a half laps to go in stage 1. But right now it's all Jose Mercado chasing after Andy Hurdle for the stage win.
Yeah, but they may have company soon enough. It looks like Kalinian and McCauley have broken out of that midfield and they're both up into the top 5 again.
Indeed so. They may end up quickly catching These guys here, McCauley's leading a bit of a train of Trevor Binns, Adam Wilson, C.D. Mangrum, Darcy Ford in back right there. Put a blanket over those 5 cars. Ford just tapped the outside wall coming off of turn 1.
And I thought I'd seen him tapping the wall out of 2 on the previous lap, but I didn't want to speculate. Yikes, a little bit of a move over there moment, perhaps. Moment from the Tornado Alley guys.
Darcy Ford again with another wall tap, this time off of 3. And Mangrum is trying his damnedest to get by the 33 for 7th. Oh my gosh, Darcy Ford, is he going to get a good run here? Okay, I thought he was going to. My eyes might have been deceiving me a little bit.
I was going to say, the previous lap, it looked like Mangrum was kind of using Adam Wilson as a bit of a personal battering ram just to kind of grab a position or 2. They got separated there briefly, but yeah, now they're back together in 6th and 7th. I'm surprised if you see a little bit of teamwork here come into play again in the later portions of this stage.
Double file action here from 9th on back. That's Darcy Ford, Bryce Fontaine, Will Kern, and Mason Tomlinson. A bunch of first-year drivers all in the mix. And then Charlie Sears up against the inaugural winner of this race, the guy that's been here since day 1, but the 64 gets ahead of them, probably thank goodness, because man, oh man, that was some close action there as everybody comes to lap 17. Oh, the 17 with a bit of a dive there on the 0 going into turn 1. They're both of them chasing after Mercado for the 2nd spot. As you said, they are quickly making their way through everybody.
Yeah, meanwhile, Andy Hurdle's kind of getting away a little bit, isn't he? Like,
yeah, second and a half.
Exactly a small gap. I mean, that'd be a sneaky stage win for the 7, building on that win already, and I believe a stage win at Monza as well. So very quietly racking up a couple of playoff points here potentially as the 7.
And then we got another 7, but you put a 1 in front. The 17 goes to 2nd. And now it's Kalinian going to be chasing after the 41, so with only a couple laps to go here in the first stage, a 2.5 seconds separating Andy Hurdle and Corbin McCauley. Will the 17 be able to catch up in time to collect another stage win on the season, which I believe, according to the numbers, that would be 9 on the season if the 17 can catch up, which it looks like he already has caught up by 2/10.
Yeah, 2/10, what, 6-7 laps to go, lap 19, so 6 at the line. So, yeah, maybe there for the taking.
Heaney's starting to fall back even more now as Adam Wilson and C.D. Mangrum, a pair of Tornado Alley E-Racing drivers, are going to get by for the 5th and 6th positions. And
yeah,
yes,
then
the 17's getting that, maybe slowly starting to get some draft off the 7. Only 8/10 separating them now.
Yeah, and I mean, a car that typically runs as fast as the 17, you add a draft to that, look out. Not quite Red Bull DRS levels of, powerlessness if you're the car ahead, but, certainly tracking in that direction.
And again, a guy chasing after 4 wins on the season and 19 career wins in the NASCAR Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, versus the guy who, again, going after only the 2nd win on the season and finally got that first one again, as we were talking about earlier, at Charlotte. Meanwhile, back here, almost contact.
Whoa, there was.
Belmonte with a bit of a loose moment there coming off of 4. He keeps it going straight.
There was no almost about it. There was a touch.
And so again, this is a guy right here, again, outside the playoff picture. Again, there were weeks and weeks and weeks on end where he was looking like he'd probably be just fine. But then there were several races in a row where he did not attend. And now at minus 39, below the cut line, 2 points back at Jason Heaney. at the moment. He may need a win to get in, or if he can claim an extraordinary number of points tonight and next week at Rockingham, then maybe who knows, but it's just man, oh man, like, again, he joined us in the series last year. Would it be appropriate to call it a sophomore slump, or not really?
I was going to say it's a weird one because, like, there's been, some bad luck along the way as well. Again, we referenced the Dover race last week that currently absolutely had on rails there. Perhaps the best case of it that we've had all year, even with the wins thrown in. Because I had not seen anybody just go that full-on fast to that point. But, yeah, the couple weeks off, they put Justin Belmonte behind the 8 ball, and he just hasn't been able to recover so far, and he isn't really making an impression